The last thing I was thinking about is the nature of memories. You've got memories that she's had that she's not shared. You've had suppressed or repressed memories of anger. You've got memories that she's losing, or the ability, to remember what she said in the short term. She has old things coming up. So memories are a very complex theme in this story. And I want you to think about all the different ways that they impact and inform Lenore.
This chapter comes after Lenora has realized that keeping this secret is impacting more than just her. It's impacting her family and possibly her business. So she decides that she will provide the entire story in a public interview to hopefully prevent Lindsay's from losing money once the secret is revealed. She wants to tell it herself and get it out there. She does so, and then her great-nephew Alton, who is a drug addict, comes to visit, and she has a more honest conversation with him, trying to show him that she too has made giant mistakes in her life, because Alton feels like he's the only one in the family to have done that, in hopes that maybe Alton will find a connection with Lenore and also find the resources within himself to be a better version of himself.
That was great. Thank you. Okay, Stacey, all yours, sir.
I really like this chapter. I feel like what you set out to do in this chapter, it worked well with it. I thought the pacing flowed. It kept my interest. I thought the flashback scene here worked better than where you had it before. And I don't remember where that was. It was previous chapters, but I just felt like it made more sense in this chapter, given what Lenora was going through and what she was admitting to. It, like, I made a mistake here, I didn't learn from it, I don't want to keep repeating this kind of thing. So I really enjoyed that. At the beginning of the chapter, and I don't think this would be an issue if I was reading this as a normal book on a regular night and I was going from one chapter to the next. But given where you ended the prior chapter, setting up the interview, and then this chapter beginning at the end of the interview, I was like, wait, what? I felt like there was a gap there. And so it took me that first page to kind of figure out what you're doing. So that's why I'm saying if I read the chapter back to back in quick succession, I don't think that would be an issue, but it may just be something to be aware of. It threw me off just a little bit. On page 1, again, you may tweak the language a little bit in the chapter. It had all happened so fast. And then Mark said the episode wouldn't air until the following week. So depending on what you're doing with Poppy and her job, for an episode to air, that makes it sound like it's going out over linear television, not the internet or YouTube, some of that kind of stuff. So just be aware of that. I loved in page 2, middle of the page, Mark is talking, crossing the porch steps, as if Lenora had been sitting on the information, picking suitors to which to tell her life's greatest failure. I just thought that was a nice touch, her admitting this, her seeing this, wrestling with it. And then we go into the flashback. I love seeing Maisie and hearing from her and just the interaction with them two and Robin. On page 4, the fact that Lenore brings up racquetball, I had the thought, and then Robin puts words to that. No one plays racquetball anymore, Aunt Lenore. I just thought it was just a great touch. It was just a little bit of humor there that, and I think that is so important in building characters and getting the reader on a particular side. So I just really liked it. And like I said, I thought the flashback, the placement of the flashback worked really well. It made sense. And then Alton comes in, and I liked how Lenora explained things. And on page, where are we, 8? At the end of that big paragraph, when the sheriff did arrive, he assumed it was moonshine in their cups, not tea, and I let the lie live. I just thought that whole explanation, again, it just worked really well. It was clear. It was simple. I thought that was really good, though. But at the bottom of page 8, in that last paragraph, she refrained from any more history. No one needed to know that she'd once tainted their product with foul-tasting herbs, etc. This bothered me a little bit, I think, because why wouldn't she tell Alton all of this as well? It's not as bad as her accidentally killing her husband and her brother-in-law. So why not come clean with this part? Because what it made me think was, does it make her look too bad? Does it cross a line for her? But at the same time, I thought either she comes clean with all of it, or it looks like her efforts here are half-hearted. And so I don't know. What are you thinking about that?
To be perfectly honest with you, I've already changed that.
Oh, okay.
And I had her, I've changed a couple of things. But we'll talk about that later. Yes, I had her capture, not go through the whole thing, but basically say I put some bitter herbs in one of the moonshines in hopes that customers wouldn't like it, and that didn't work. And that was all.
Okay. I think that feels more consistent with what you're doing with her character, because otherwise it started making her change, her arc, feel a little half-hearted and not complete.
Yeah, I didn't want her to have another secret, because the whole idea is she's getting rid of the secrets.
Yep. Exactly. The only thing I would say about this chapter, and it just comes to the close of this section with Alton, I really liked it. I loved it. At the bottom of page 9, I felt like this was kind of the big idea, the big piece of it, where he says, we just put our guilt in different places. The only thing I would say is I would think about expanding this scene a little bit more, and expand and really kind of lean into they're both carrying guilt. She went this way with it, and he went this way with it, but it's still the same underlying common Lynchian piece. And hers was hidden for years. His was out on the surface for everybody to see. So I think I think you could explore that a little bit more, even with some dialogue between them, that you can easily do in your very warm-hearted way that could bring them even closer. But that's the only thought, that's the only suggestion I had, would be to expand that just a touch more, because I love what you're doing with them. I love Alton teasing her even on the next page just a little bit. And I love the bits of humor that you dropped into this chapter, because I think that does a lot for characters. So I thought it was a great chapter. I would just think about expanding that conversation and go a little bit more with it.
Great.
Wow. Excellent comments, and only 9 minutes or so. We can do this thing, guys. I'm so excited. Okay. So, Melany, any additional thoughts on what Stacey said that have, or maybe you feel differently about something that he said or something brand new?
Yeah, let me scroll through here. On page 3, when she says it took me a good long while, when she's thinking about Maisie, to realize there are more important considerations than my feelings and my own good. I was thinking it might be a really human reaction at some point, not necessarily here, for Lenora to be angry at her husband for putting their family in the situation in the first place. In the chapters that we've read thus far, I've never seen her angry at him, but you know, everything she's doing is because he put them in the situation. So that was just something I was thinking about, because she is pretty consistent in how she feels about it. But I thought, you know, at some point, maybe she's mad about, you know, how it originated. Let's see. So on page 4, I know I've mentioned before that sometimes I don't understand the scale of their business. So there's a couple of specific details that I'll point out of why I get that impression. So at the top of page 4 says she leaned over the store's counter. I forget which family member it is. And then on the next page, you know, they had baked goods and quilts and selling loose tea leaves with a recipe card. Those kind of details to me are those are things that give me the impression that the business is a smaller scale business. So I just thought I'd point those out so you kind of know where that impression comes from. The other thing, you totally disregard this if it doesn't make sense for you, but when they did the taste testing of the tea, I think it could be hilarious to put in some like obnoxious reviews. Like, these are very kind reviews of people who don't care for the tea. But if you went to Amazon and looked at negative reviews, I mean, some of them can be really funny, really obnoxious. I mean, if it works for the tone of the book, and maybe it doesn't, but I always like opportunities for a little bit of absurdity.
Now, would that be in italics or not in italics?
I meant to say, I thought your use of italics was brilliant in this chapter.
Also on the bottom of page 6, this is after the tea has failed. Said with Robin's aggressive advertising, Maisie's faith, and Lenora's acceptance, they survived. So 2 thoughts there. It might be interesting if the failure had more significant consequences, like maybe a family member lost their job or a key employee, they had to let somebody go, or something a little more devastating. And also, if the product is not well received, I don't think more advertising is going to help, although I'm not sure that's what that's saying. So that's just kind of a minor comment.
So here's an example of being explicit. That they get rid of the line and just they had lost business because of this whole experiment, Pam? Or so they rebuilt their basic business. Maybe saying that more clearly would be a good idea.
Okay. And let's see. The only other comment I had was, so Alton, who's 48 hours into his sobriety again, when you're around someone in that situation, in my experience, there's a lot of angst, and their countenance is very impacted. It's really delicate. And I don't really, this feels like a very easygoing conversation between them. And I wonder if it could benefit from, I don't know, a little more angst on Alton's part. And if he did not have a good experience in rehab, I don't think he would have a sponsor, because those kind of go hand in hand. So again, just something to think about. Unless the sponsor was a friend and it was, you know, a little different.
Okay. Oh, that's, I think that's a good note about the countenance, especially. His presentation would be super rough, and that wasn't fully conveyed. And it also gives you opportunities, you know, to really make this very textured and show differences between his state and hers, you know. So again, you might rethink that a little bit. Alex, you've got 5 minutes. Thank you, Melany. Oops, here we go. 5 minutes.
Yeah, I follow on what everybody else has said. I think Stacey's idea is a really good one. Have her start just like the floodgates have opened, and once she starts being honest about one thing, she starts being too honest about everything. I think that would be fascinating. And she starts just telling secrets left and right, you know, and then not remembering them because she's, you know, also losing her memory. That could be fascinating. You know, and then we learn all kinds of things about her past and her mental state, you know. I also agree. I think in general, now that I've read a bit of the beginning and the end, or not the end, but you know, sort of the middle, this is a character study, and the way that sort of needs to work is change over time, and she needs to change through the course of the book, whichever way almost doesn't matter, but she needs to be a quite different person at the end of the book as the beginning, and I think she's pretty consistent. So this is, I think that's a place where there's definitely opportunity for her to develop as a person, or to degrade, you know, depending on which way you want to have the narrative. Yeah, jumping on the end maybe first. Alton was somebody I had a couple questions about too. The first was, what does he know and when does he know it? When he first talks to her, this was like hours potentially, or minutes after the interview happened, and I thought he knew he was showing up because he knew the interview had happened. And I was like, wait, how could he possibly know about the interview when this just occurred a second ago? And then it's clear that he's actually just talking about the fact that the deaths had happened. But then it was like, well, that's probably a day or two ago, so of course he knows about those. I don't know. There was a disconnect somehow about what he knows and when, that I think is worth clarifying. Yeah, if I didn't even catch that he was 48 hours out of addiction. Depending on the addiction, I mean, and how deep it is on some level, he might not leave the house, frankly. You know, he might not leave a center if it was, yeah, that's a pretty big moment. So yeah, I think him at the very least being in a very heightened, fidgety kind of state would be necessary. I also wasn't 100% sure that what she said to him would actually make him change. Addicts know what they should do. They just don't do it. They know what they're supposed to do. They just don't, you know. They know that they should call for a meeting. They know they should call their sponsor. They know whatever it is. They know they should quit or cut down or whatever. And you know, there's always an excuse for not doing that. And if he's clean for a given amount of time, that shifts things, certainly. But at that point, he's already on his own path. And I think anything she would say probably wouldn't make that much of a difference. Or if she did say something that would make a difference, it would be really groundbreaking. And I think that would be needed for him to actually feel like she made a difference in his life in that moment, because that's huge. That's a big thing from his point of view. And I think her, I don't know, she would need an insight that would need to be revealed in this chapter that was way farther than the dialogue expressed, whatever, you know. I wondered why she was at Robin's. I just didn't quite, maybe I missed it in the interim reading early chapters and later ones. I probably just missed it in the jumps, but I kind of missed why the interview happened there, not at a studio, not in her house, and not at a neutral location or something. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's probably just that I missed a line in chapter 21. You know.
I think you did explain that. Any last thoughts before we cut you off completely?
No, the only one is show the interviews. I think the interviews are the point, and those need to be full chapters. Absolutely, even if there's more than one. Those are the big moments. So yeah, like lean into those.
Yeah. Thank you all for your thoughts on this. Pam, I think that there is so much potential in this chapter. I actually, for the first time, really liked Lenora. She was human. She has not been so human. The way she made that connection with Alton, although I think it's premature for him to be at the place that he's in at the end, you know, with the call, and I would agree with everyone else that he would be rougher, and it might take the rest of the book to get him to make that call to Narcotics Anonymous. That it might be that is the rest of the book getting him there, then that would be convincing. However, I just loved how you approached the chapter. The humor, yes, it's very helpful. It's just a little bit, you know, I was looking at the same thing that Stacey was looking at, going, racquetball, seriously? And then she goes, Mom, no one ever played, you know, whatever. It was perfect, you know, just the way you addressed what the reader was thinking, and it was a little fun. We were just having a little fun with the characters. That was great. And something that Melany said was very interesting, and I had not thought of before. Can you ever allow yourself to be angry at the man that put you in a position of having to defend your family if you've accidentally killed him? Are you allowed to have anger? Does she have anger? This would be a very
she does. Well,
right.
She had in chapters before his. She has said this is all his fault, and this is all the whole. So that has happened, but earlier in the book.
Okay.
So it's a matter of how much repetitiveness is there to put it here. I don't know. Maybe there's a reference that would work here, but
it wouldn't be repetitive if she's evolving. Her anger or her view of her anger would shift and change, evolve over time. Okay, so if in the beginning it's just this plain, unadulterated fury that she's been repressing for 70 years, but then over time she realizes, you know, that X, Y, and Z, I don't know what in particular her revelations would be, then her perspective towards that anger and towards her husband would probably change as well. So don't worry about it being repetitive. Worry about her progressing through the book. And as Alex said, it is a character study. And I know now that you are capable of making her very, very multifaceted. And I love that. That's what I got from this. I liked the humor that you showed. I liked the reminder of her anger. I wanted to see more of that. Unfortunately, I think addicts have probably touched all of our lives. And I wanted to see more of that awfulness of those, you know, first 48 hours. And maybe that's what causes her to share. Maybe in a way she's thinking, well, he'll never remember this. He's in such a state. I can tell him these things. I can actually express what I think. I mean, she's going to change page after page after page. She's going to evolve. And that's what you want to show. You don't want her to be pretty much the same and then, having a revelation at the end. She needs to evolve throughout throughout the story. And and when she does, it's going to be amazing. So, and then the last thing I was thinking about is the nature of memories. You've got memories that she's had that she's not shared. You've had suppressed or repressed memories of anger. You've got memories that she's losing, or the ability, to remember what she said in the short term. She has old things coming up. So memories are a very complex theme in this story. And I want you to think about all the different ways that they impact and inform Lenore. It's all here. And this chapter proved to me that you could make her as, in editing, they call it showing a character warts and all. I love that you're showing her warts. I mean, not literally, figuratively. It's a good thing. Okay. It makes us relate to her more, because in the beginning, she seemed calculating and cold. She kept this for a reason, but we never got the underbelly of it. Now it's being revealed. And I think this is an exciting advance in the book. So I'm really happy.
Bardsey provides the tools, guidance, and support you need to produce a compelling novel. Our well-researched and thoroughly tested approach includes our minimum complete story, a 90-second exercise designed to keep you on track and foster creativity. The Bardsey Publishability Index, a 23-dimension checklist that offers attainable goals and actionable feedback. And our brand new comprehensive character developer, a fun, interactive tool guaranteed to help you construct unforgettable characters. Come see it for yourself today at bardsey.com. Try our workshop or enter our first chapter contest. Then, when you're ready, Elite membership delivers directed writing groups and personal coaching within a curated community. With Bardsey's help, your work will captivate everyone, from agents to publishers, and most importantly, your readers.